Alright, man, I've been trying to do a video the last 2 days. I just can't seem to find the time right now. And then I get hit with another one this morning that blew my mind as a Webbot hit. Absolutely blew my mind. And I'm a Webbot follower. I stand by the Webbot. And it blew my mind. Oh my God, did we have a hit today. And I'm not talking about the November hot date. I'm talking about another one from a previous report, many reports ago, that is actually huge in importance, even though it's not really a big event. Happened, as far as I know, today or yesterday because of the video I saw today. However, this video isn't going to discuss that one at all because I'm making a separate video as soon as I'm done with this video because I need to give it its own video and title. So I'm not going to do one single video. But I'm going to start off with a Webbot hit. And it was in the report about a sinkhole that's going to be by a public building, and it's going to swallow a public building so fast that it's just baffling. It just like completely sucks the building down. And it blocks off part of the entrance to the cityway. It's a big problem. Water pipelines break, that kind of thing. Marble and granite will have big to do with this building. This isn't what I'm about to read you isn't quite that yet. But there was an apartment building many months ago that really fit quite well for a minute, but it didn't suck it in. The parking garage collapsed partially into the hole. It was a very large hole. That was many months ago, but this said a public building. A place that people rent a house or housing, like an apartment complex that has a separate parking garage. Yeah, it's a public building, but that's not what they're talking about. They were talking about, courthouse, city hall, fire department. That's a public building when they're talking about that in the Webbot report. So here's this is what I'm going to call like a precursor. Again, this is kind of like it's just starting to fill the language. It ain't done yet. You're going to see the main event sooner or later, and it's going to be much sooner than later. I've been noticing these things, like it's kind of a Webbot hit, but not quite. It kind of filled the language, but not quite. And then later on, something fits it even better, such as the apartment complex. Man, that was kind of it. It was a big sinkhole. Part of the thing collapsed into the hole, but it wasn't a public building. It had nothing to do with marble and granite. Didn't swallow the whole building. Okay, it wasn't quite it, was it? Certainly not something you ever heard of on the news, really, until 2010. So I was like, well, it's kind of a hit, but not really, whatever. Then we have this. Now we're getting closer. Still not perfect, but we're getting closer. Huge sinkhole opens in front of Brookings City Hall. And here's a little picture of it. Black and white, because that's what my printer is right now. Laser printer. The 23-foot deep hole was discovered by police officers at about 1:30 a.m. City crews worked through the night to discover the extent of the damage and prevent the situation from worsening. Public Works supervisor said Sunday afternoon they were able to stabilize the walls a little bit. Police department offices are close to the opening. Police will monitor the hole hourly. If there are any changes to the hole, crews will return. There is no immediate danger to city structures, but a large portion of Elk Drive crumbled into the hole. Elk Drive is closed between 5th Street and Rose Road and is not expected to open for some time. There will be no easy fix as water from broken culvert gushed through the deep hole, carrying away even more soil. This is going to be fairly extensive, he said. It's very unstable ground and the weather just isn't good. Now, I haven't followed up with this story. That was from like 2 days ago. I haven't followed up to see did the hole get bigger? Are they still working on it? Is that section of the city closed down because that was the entranceway? I didn't follow it too much. Again, it's getting closer to filling the language piece by piece, but it's not perfect yet, so whatever. So then Cliff High writes something on his website about that old 87-day cycle or whatever. And he's just saying this, basically the 87-day cycle, it's real, definitely works. Every time the cycle happens, you could expect actually just prior to the cycle, a week or two maybe, that you'll start to see the events on Earth unfolding, the earthquakes happening, the volcano starting to grumble, and then the 87-day cycle hits, say 2 weeks later or whatever, and then from there on out, you'll see more of that and it'll get worse. They will last longer and become more devastating. And he's saying, look, I'm looking at Indonesia. I'm seeing how very violently Indonesia is reacting to these cycles. We've only seen 2 so far. The next one is going to be pretty, decent. The one after that, I think, which is around June or July, will be even worse. By that point forward, everyone's going to know there's definitely a problem here on this planet. Something's going on, etc. He's just trying to tell people, be prepared, that kind of thing. It's going down. It is, in my opinion and personal conclusion, that the most likely cycle for a complete 87 days of Earth activity will be the cycle beginning on July 15th, 2011. That's what he means. Well, what he means is, in other words, a complete 87-day cycle means, the 87-day cycle starts today. We had a few things happen for 2 weeks and that was it. No. Today's the 87-day cycle, and all the way until the next 87-day cycle, we have problems. Earthquakes, volcanoes, really, really bad weather, etc., etc. That's what he's talking about. And as he said, it's his opinion that may take place on the second cycle from now, which is July 15th, 2011. So, he says the thinking is also that each cycle that is encountered in our progression through 2011, the amount of intensity of Earth activity will escalate. Here at Half Past Human, we have some internal debate about how rapidly the escalation will progress. However, the next two cycles, that is to say the one starting on January 22nd, 2011 and April 19, 2011, will tell the tale. That is to say, we should be able to plot or chart the activity levels of volcanoes and earthquake from October 2010 through to June, and then project the trend line for increased energies impacting the planet into late 2011 and 2012. So that's one thing. Here's an update from George Ure, which is his good best friend to the Webbot guy Cliff, on his website, and he said, our rickety time machine seems to be coming through with the goods, since our arrival, in temporal terms anyways, is in the immediate vicinity of what is supposed to be the tipping point in predictive linguistics, after which things are different for everyone appear to be falling into place. He's talking about the November hot date, which basically ends this weekend, and it should go out with a bang, apparently. The one-day wonder that we had spoken about last week as being a story that would appear with national prominence and then quickly fade into obscurity in advance of the tipping point this coming weekend is very likely to turn out to be the mystery missile that was shot off the coast of Los Angeles, which was picked up by the KCBS TV news chopper and making the viral rounds. That's exactly true. He's absolutely right. We are now certain, of course, the times, the dates, the time frame, it's apparently pretty much right for all hell to break loose here shortly. And he says later on, we'll drop back to last Friday's Glenn Beck show. This is another interesting thing he said. We'll drop back to last Friday's Glenn Beck show, where he had a couple of guests who outlined a 13 to 15 day sequence of global economic collapse based on the U.S. inappropriately deciding to go ahead with what's been called, quantitative easing, printing the hell out of money. But which in reality is what he calls is quantitative printing of money, not quantitative easing. Under the scenario of what would happen, the Chinese would mull over such a thing very carefully, but then on day one of this scenario from Glenn Beck, the Chinese would announce that they are cutting U.S. debt ratings, and that would start off a sequence of unstoppable events that lead to global economic collapse. Yesterday, which was actually 2 days ago, was day one because the Chinese bond agency cut U.S. debt ratings. And we're hearing reports that little has been going on in the way of Chinese purchasing since November 5th. They don't want to touch our bonds anymore. They're done. We've also had an unconfirmed report that the Chinese are planning a 6% internal tax on Chinese-owned/controlled companies which deal in U.S. currencies. So as the dollar fails, you're going to see this tax that the Chinese are going to, potentially put on operations that have to do with U.S. companies that they own or deal with in U.S. currency. So if they have a company that has to deal with U.S. currency, for example, if China owns Walmart and they've got to deal with U.S. currency, what they're saying is they're going to have to add some kind of, at this point, a 6% internal tax, so to speak, on operations, or I'm not sure what. But anyways, very interesting stuff right there. So that's it for this video. And I'm going to do another one on the next WebBot hit, which is the one that really blew me away today. Unbelievable. I mean, when you see the keywords and the words used, and this is unbelievable. It's not that big of a deal when you look at, well, what was it? Well, so what? But when you look at all the keywords attached, what just happened, what this lady did, what she said on the news, who her name is, what her story is, and what she talked about is absolutely absurd, which goes right in line with what the WebBot said to look out for this particular person. Unbelievable. All right, I'm going to do the video now.